Hey, folks, welcome back into Frogs in the Pod. What do you think of this now? The Home Zone Studios? Did we do this right or what? It's going to be a great season, by the way. We're fired up and excited about where things are. The momentum around this program right now is sky high with football right around the corner. We're just, another Saturday or so away from Dublin, Ireland. That's where we're going to be to kick things off against North Carolina. Sonny Dykes' team, new quarterbacks, new coaches, but a lot of returning players as well. We're going to talk about that with Coach Dykes coming up here in just a couple of minutes in this edition of Frogs in the Pod. There's stuff already happening, though. Soccer's underway already. Knocked off number 22, Wisconsin. EB, Coach Eric Bell and his team, picking up right where they left off last year. Looking forward to a great year out of them. Volleyball's, they're in action tonight. Have you seen the new floor here at Schollmeyer Arena? You need to show up just for the floor. Tonight it's the purple and white scrimmage. You want to be here for that one. Jason Williams is going to be with us next week, by the way, on our Frogs in the Pod cast right here. A lot happening around TCU athletics. Lots underway. It's kind of move-in week as well. We're going to talk about that. It's going to be fun. Sonny Dykes joins us next right here in the Home Zone Studios. Frogs in the Pod coming your way. Frogs in the Pod, back at it we come. That's right. Coach Sonny Dykes is alongside. We are in the Home Zone studio. Not bad, huh, man?
Yeah, not bad.
Plush, as we like to say. Thanks to our friends at Spectrum for bringing us Frogs in the Pod. The other day, we were at practice. By the way, it's been kind of move-in week at TCU. Folks have been moving in. Another day after practice, you and I were joking that when you moved into the dorm, you had a jam box and a duffel bag, right?
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. That was me. I think my car was full of speakers.
Yeah.
And that was it.
I know, like, my daughter's a year away.
Yeah.
And my wife's already talking about, like, what she needs.
Right.
And so I'm like, this is a year away.
You already hired the interior designer?
It's a lot different these days than it was. I mean, I had a comforter and a couple of sheets and a pillow and a jam box.
Yeah. And I bet your dad wasn't there for moving day.
Nah, he wasn't there.
He was a little busy.
Yeah, I'm not sure he knew where I was going to school.
Down the street, right, yeah, exactly. I bring that up because on Monday you gave your guys the day off. That was part of their day off. And that's kind of, hey, get acclimated, see everybody, meet everybody. It's all about campus that day, right?
Yeah, and it's just a day. I mean, we haven't had one, where the players just got to be 18 to 22-year-old kids and just catch their breath and relax a little bit. And so, they needed a little bit of a break, and so we gave them a break this morning and let them sleep in a little bit. Of course, we had some players here in the office at 7 o'clock, even though they had a chance to sleep in. They were here ready to go and to look at film and whatever, which is a good thing. But you know what? It's so funny now that football's changed so much. There used to be, as a coach, you used to worry about your players staying in shape and working out enough and all this stuff. And now you worry about them working out too much and not getting away from it enough. And it's just different than it used to be. But they needed a break, and hopefully they'll take advantage of it.
Does that also carry over to like install and preparation? Meaning, you talk to coaches in years past, and I don't know if we got everything in or we're pressed to get everything in. But you guys have so much time with them now. Does that eliminate some of that pressure too?
It does a little bit. Yeah, you get to do stuff with them over the summer now that you couldn't do in the past, and so you've got a lot more opportunity to install things. Really, in spring football, you have a chance to reinforce that, make your changes that you need to make based on your personnel, and then you have we've got about 8 OTAs in the summer where we can continue to work with the guys and make sure that we handle the install, and then we get to do it all over again in fall camp. And so it does. I mean, you get to have more scheme. The guys know what they're doing more now than they used to, just because they spend so much more time in the building, and technology's helped as well. Everybody on our team's got an iPad, and then you can send cut-ups and notes and things to your players all the time, interact with those guys at night when they're watching film. I mean, it's kind of a never-ending thing nowadays.
What keeps you up at night, though? Like, I would be up at night thinking about situational things. Did we go over this? Have we gone enough? Have we done this enough?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing, honestly, that keeps me up is injuries. Just trying to walk the fine line between building a tough, physical, hard-nosed football team and making sure that you try to keep your guys as safe as possible. And that's probably the most challenging thing we do on a day-to-day basis, is decide how hard we're going to push them Because the last thing in the world you want to do is, have this crazy hard fall camp where you just beat each other up all the time, and then you get to week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and you don't have any players. And so, there's that fine line all the time, but at the end of the day, it's football, and you got to be tough, and you got to be a physical guy, and if you're not going to be very physical, you're not going to be very good. And so you got to figure out how to make that work.
You said it's been a physical camp, though, right?
It has, yeah. I think it's been more so than in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just a commitment to running the football, and I think it helps your defense when you do that as well. I think it toughens those guys up, and there's been more high-quality battles on the line of scrimmage. I think our players are bigger, certainly up front, than they have been, and so it's resulted in some, pretty good one-on-one battles and pretty physical practices and a very competitive atmosphere.
You said something the other day in one of your press conferences that I smiled at because I smiled and I thought to myself, there's not a lot of coaches that would say that. And you said, I try to be happy every day.
Yeah.
But you genuinely do, right? I mean, you try to control what you can control and not worry about all the other noise.
Yeah. If you want to be upset about something as a head football coach, there's lots
There's
of reasons.
plenty, right?
You can find enough stuff to get you upset. And so, I got to try to focus on paying attention to the people that matter, and my job is to serve our players, honestly, and to get those guys, put them in the best position to improve their life that I can, and everything that goes along with that as a football player and as a student and as a person. And we have a plan, and we have a plan that's worked, and it's been successful, for a long time. And, you have to change your plan, and you have to be willing to adapt and adjust to trends and all the things that change in college football. But yeah, you have to work the plan, and if and I believe it works, I really do. And so that gives me a little bit of optimism, that we can get things done, and we can push our players, and we can help those guys accomplish what they want to accomplish. But yeah, there's plenty of noise out there if you want to get upset about stuff. That's why I don't spend a lot of time worrying that much about the state of college football.
Yeah.
I don't really have any control over it.
Right.
They're going to tell us what the rules are, and we're going to follow the rules.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and
Hopefully
they're going to make somebody else follow the rules.
Right,
That's
right,
another story.
right.
But that's what you want. You want to know what the rules are, and then you want to know how to operate within the rules and figure it out for you. And every situation is different, unique. And TCU has some fantastic advantages that some other schools don't have, and we have some challenges that maybe some other schools don't have as well. But we got to figure out how to make it work for us.
Yeah, as much as you block it all out, though, there's got to be something that kind of hisses you off out there. I mean, is there?
Of course there is. Yeah, there is. Just the way the recruiting stuff is now. I just think that the transactional relationship in nature of college football, some places is concerning to me. Just because if you're not invested in people, then you're not going to really do what's best for them. And I think that's what, as coaches, we spent so much time recruiting these young people. We got to know them. We got to know their families. We were invested in them. They were invested in us. And so there was a bond that was strong. And in the transactional world, sometimes kids may go to schools, never visit the campus, don't know the coaches. All they're worried about is a paycheck. And then, they get treated that way as well. And so it's really, I don't know that it's necessarily good for anybody. I think there's a happy medium in there somewhere.
Do you truly not care, and that's probably the wrong way to say it, when it comes to like preseason polls?
Yeah, honestly don't care.
You truly don't care?
Nah. Yeah, I used to get a little bit mad about it, whatever.
You're like, hey, what about us?
Yeah, but not anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, it's just a distraction. And I think it's funny, I was driving into work and listening to a television or a radio show, and they were talking about preseason polls and how inaccurate they were and all this stuff. I think the 20th ranked team in the preseason poll played the 10th ranked team in the preseason poll for the national championship last year, if I'm not mistaken. I think Indiana was 20. I think Miami was 10. Texas was 2. I think Texas was 1. I think Penn State was 2.
Right.
Neither team made the playoff. Penn State fired their coach in the middle of the season. I don't know that the preseason polls have a lot to do with what actually plays out on the field.
Yeah. What when you think about where we are right now, we're just a little over a week away from Dublin. What excites you the most about Game 1?
Well, just a chance to compete. We have a lot of young players, and so I'm anxious to see how those guys, do in the big spotlight. In front of the world in a lot of ways. We're in Ireland playing a game. They're going to have to be able to handle, everything that goes along with that. And as I said, a lot of new players to our program, but a lot of guys that we think have opportunities to be really, really good players, and this is when they get to test it. They put a lot of work in. I'm confident those guys will perform well, but you never know until they go do it.
But you're one of those guys that, I mean, you love practice to the point where you'd be okay with not playing games.
Yeah,
right?
I like practicing. I mean, I like I like the process of practice. I like watching guys improve and but yeah, the games are fun. Games are fun, but this one's going to be unique. Again, we're playing North Carolina and Bill Belichick, and so there's a lot of attention that comes with that. And then obviously in Ireland, it's going to be different. And we gave up a home game to go do this, and so it's a big deal. We got to play well in this game and go out and find a way to win it.
There's a big story in ESPN this week, and as I was reading, I was thinking this is a conversation that we've had with Sonny, and that was about clock management and how the number of possessions have reduced and how people are handling them and how communication actually slowed down the game.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting because I'm not sure that was the intent. Was the intent to slow it down?
I think potentially maybe a little
Really?
bit. I don't know that the communication part of it was.
I know they wanted to slow it down.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of factors that helped that. I mean, the reason it slowed down, quite frankly, was because of the sign stealing.
Yeah.
It became so prevalent in college football that pretty much everybody you played had your signs and had your signals, and unless you were going to play with an ultra fast tempo, then it became an issue.
Yeah.
Once the defense can get that stuff communicated and they have a pretty good idea what you're going to run, that's not a good thing. And so I think that had a lot to do with it. And so there was a kind of a process. I mean, they wanted to slow the game down a little bit. The clock management, the clock timing rules changed a little bit to, I think, slow it down. I think they wanted to keep the games shorter for television. That's not what they're going to say, but I think that's really what they wanted to do, is try to do it in a little bit of an NFL model where most of the games were over in 3 hours or as close to that as they could be. So there were, I think, a lot of trends that affected that, and then I think the biggest thing, I think, was sign stealing.
Yeah.
And and just the impact that's had on the game.
I've told you and I have a mutual friend who was a head coach who had a great line. He said he had a guy on his staff who had stolen more than people in prison. And he was strictly talking about.
I mean, look, there are entire subsets of coaches on coaching staffs across the country
that can do that, right?
That their jobs are strictly espionage.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
And there's a bit of a talent to it, isn't
there is. Yeah, they're there for one reason. That's to steal signs only.
Yeah. Well, you being a former baseball guy, you should have been. You should have been a part of that. I mean, those baseball guys are the best.
That's never. I don't know if I'm smart enough to do it. It's never been my thing, but it's been a big trend.
Yeah, and you think about how it has changed the game. Are you cool with it though? Those adjustments.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't really care. I better be cool with it.
Yeah.
I better figure out a way to make it work for us.
Right.
And I do. I'm an air raid guy. I was came up in the system, and then became an air raid with a fast tempo.
Right.
And so I was kind of one of the most extreme people out there, and one of those people that you would think would love the 70 to 63 games, and quite frankly, I didn't really like those. Anytime I ever coached in a game and we won, some crazy shootout, I always left the field just disappointed and mad and upset that we didn't play better on defense and just all the stuff. So, in a lot of ways, I like the fact that the game is becoming a little bit more traditional than it has been.
I asked you a question the other day in the press conference, and I'm laughing because I almost laughed out loud, Coach, at your response. When I asked you, I said, hey, do you think it'll be a 55-45 run-pass ratio? What does it look like in the end? And you literally said, well, I hope it's 80-20. I'd be okay with that. And I'm like,
80-20 run.
Yeah, exactly. 80-20 run. And I was like, wait a minute, is that Sonny Dykes saying 80-20? An air raid guy.
Yeah, I mean, that means you're better at the line of scrimmage.
Just whipping them, right?
Yeah, and lining up and whipping somebody, there's nothing better in the world than being that superior from a talent standpoint. I don't know that that's necessarily going to be the case year in, year out, week in, week out for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, we want to be able to run the ball and everything that comes along with it. And the thing about it is, if you're running the ball at the end of the game, that usually means you have the lead and you're ahead and you're trying to run the clock out, and that's the goal.
Yeah, you took a team at Cal to Australia It was a little weird, though, the travel, because y'all played really early, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah, we did. I think we played week 0. It was the same, but we went real early.
Yeah.
We went like 9 days before the game.
Right.
Because it's a 16-hour flight. I mean, it was quite an enterprise to go figure out how to do all that. And but we've done it before, and it's challenging, but we actually played pretty well in that game, won the football game, and so we're hoping to do the same thing this time.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you kind of go back and hey, remember we didn't do this well.
Yeah,
we got to do this better.
We did. Yeah. From the very beginning, as soon as we knew this game was going to happen, I kind of brainstormed and called a couple of people that were with me and said, okay, what did we not like? What did we like? What was and then have talked to a number of people that have participated in this game as well, and so teams that have played in the Aer Lingus Classic. Just, what did they like, what was good, what was bad. We sent an advanced team over there to go see the hotels, look at the food, look at the practice facility, look at the field, ideas of things that we saw from the game last year, all the different things, and just wanted to, to try to control the controllables, if whatever we could figure out to control.
Any Irish heritage in the Dykes lineage?
You know what? I don't think so. No, I think it's my mom's side, maybe a little Scottish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but not any Irish, I think.
Yeah, because you're not there to look around anyway.
No, I mean I'll look around. I'll look from the airport to the hotel.
I was going to say on the bus.
Yeah, to the bus to the game.
Well, that's
that'll be about the extent of it for me.
Finally, I'm going to leave you with this, Coach, because as we're winding down, we're getting close. This is going to air right before you take off. You want out of the block in Dublin. If you see this out of your team, you'll feel good about where you're at.
Yeah, I think we need to be, number one, just excited to play. I think that's that's always important. I mean, your football team better be excited to go out there and compete and understand that it's going to be a dogfight. And so we've got to that we have to check that box first and foremost. For us, again, we've talked about it a million times, but we've got to win the turnover battle. That's going to be really important for us. I think we've made some huge strides in fall camp on both sides. I've really loved how aggressive we've been defensively as far as attacking the football, and it's made us better on offense, and we've taken care of the ball at a lot better. We've been a lot better doing that than we have in the past, and so that's going to be key for us, doing those things. And then, we got to be a line of scrimmage football team. Got to win the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
All right, let's get after it. Thanks for joining us on this one, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Coach.
All right, man.
Looking forward to Dublin. It's going to be a lot
too.
of fun. That's Sonny Dykes. Hey, when we come back next week, Jason Williams is in that chair. We get to talk about volleyball. And I said at the beginning, you got to check out that new floor. It is worth it. It's awesome. Thanks to our friends at Home Zone. Also, thanks to our friends at Spectrum. For Sonny Dykes, I'm Brian Estridge. Frogs in a Pod, #1 in the books.